Barber Card Success, brought to you by Craig Charles of Crown Cuts Academy, JC, Crown Cuts Academy, Bristol, and Craig's Crown Cuts Downtown, JC. Spreading love the Tri-City way is one way, but spreading love the Crown Cuts way is the major way. Today we got a big episode for you guys. I even had a guy call me, first review on the phone, talking about, I can't wait to hear this episode that you guys was talking about.
He called you?
He called me because he actually mentioned your name.
What he said?
Well,
he called me Ammi?
No, he didn't say that. But we have this big episode for you guys. Welcome back. Ammi and myself, Jordan he held the bar last week.
I had to hold it down last week.
I mean, that's nervous. You're the co-host. You're supposed to.
Yeah, it was my first time though. I felt good though because Mitch helped me out after a while.
That's what's up. I mean, but we got a special guest on it. My co-host introduced themselves before we jump into this big podcast. It's gonna be fun. Introduce yourself.
Me, I'm BCA from Kaifa Experiential Marketing, and I create events for marketing purposes for businesses.
Big.
That's dope.
Big, my guy.
Ammi Fields.
We back.
I just cut hair.
No, you don't. we back.
She said marketing events.
Yeah.
Barber.
Got a little fancy with us. I'm Jordan Barr. The same thing as Ammi. I just cut
talking
hair.
about fancy with
It's
the
not
mic.
just cutting hair though; it's an art.
Yeah, it's an art.
It's an art.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about a special topic today. I know we were supposed to talk about it last week, but something came up with Ammi and ourselves. One thing that you got to realize, when you're in this industry, you're continuously growing. So me and Ammi went to a continuing education course last week. It was Sunday and Monday, just for instructors, just continuously grow as individuals, always want to give students the best version of ourselves. So we're continuously working on ourselves just to do things to enhance the classroom experience, enhance the teaching experience for students, but also just to learn more. So that's where we was at last week. And Mr. Barr, he held it down.
Yeah, I held it down. I hope people that was listening, I hope that I gave y'all some important things that y'all could have taken away from it. But
what did you talk about last week? It was the first week in the barbershop. Oh, that's what's up. I mean, that's perfect. Yeah. People want to know what to expect when they get out of school. But today we have a special topic. We're going to talk about coding and barbering. How does coding and barbering intersect? It just blows your mind.
I'm not going to pretend to know because I don't.
I don't either. That's why I was
our industry, it just baffles me. Not even baffles me. It just makes me get so excited when we see how technology and barbering is just going to the next level.
And the growth of the barber industry is undeniable at this point. Even intellectuals, professionals are asking us for advice or just seeing how we do things that come naturally to us in the barbershop, but things that people admire, and you kind of take it for granted is the skills that we obtain in the barbershop because it's just an everyday life for us. But long term, it's definitely beneficial for most people to learn the skills that we bring forth.
I mean, it's major because we had our first call-in review. So this guy called me from DC. He was like, man, I can't wait.
We got the DMV on the phone?
Yeah. Okay. So he called me, Rodney Cox. Shout out to Rodney and little RJ. He called me and he's like critiquing. I know y'all talking about coding and barbering. I can't wait for the episode. Is it this week? I was like, nah, Jordan's taking it over. It's the week after. But we did say last time we're going to follow it up. We'll whet everyone's appetite and talk about coding and barbering the following week.
Yeah.
But again, we had
things happen.
Yeah, we'll take care of some business.
Yeah.
But it just makes me just smile when I think about everything that's coming into this industry.
I mean, and we haven't even tapped into it yet. Like we don't know how far it can actually go.
Right.
Like we're talking about coding and barbering. Like what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like who's gonna find the newest thing?
I would have never thought of coding and barbering. That's such a
it's kind of so wide.
Yeah, it's kind of
explain to the ones listening like what coding is. Like
coding is technology.
Oh no, I'll wait on you because I had to ask the same question. Like, what is coding?
I mean, coding is technology people use to build stuff. Computer science. You can put a whole code in. I'm not the best one to explain it, but you can put a whole software together, and you can build like a building.
It's what creates the program. Coding is
Yeah.
what
Kind of
you use to
runs the
create things on
computer.
computer.
Kind of
Yeah.
runs it.
Right. And I remember I was listening to this, I think it was EYL, Earn Your Leisure, one time, and the guy came on. Shout out to those brothers out there. Big show. And they were talking about if you could find your passion and integrate it with technology moving forward, you have something. Because I've always heard people who make money are people who solve problems.
Robot barbers.
So if you can, I don't know, Ammi. You still gonna have a job.
Yeah, I
I'm still
mean,
gonna
I'm
have
just
a job.
saying, like, that's the next level, right? We got robots.
Oh, man. They come up with a robot that can give you any type of cut that you want.
Yeah,
That'd be crazy.
It's a wrap. So I'm like, let me start and regress a little bit. How this happened. So I wasn't even supposed to go to this convention. This convention was the National Barber Board Association conference in Atlanta. I wasn't even supposed to go to that conference. So I went to the conference. A friend of mine, Mr. TJ.
Back up, right? Because it was crazy. Go ahead and tell the whole story.
Okay, so it's funny because I went fishing. I went fishing in Panama City. So I got a round trip ticket to go fishing. And something came up where my cousins, they decided to stay extra day. I thought we was leaving on the Saturday. So I booked my ticket to leave on Saturday. And then when I got there, it's like, man, Craig, we're going to stay till Sunday. We're going to chop it up, have fun, and relax and chill. So I was like, you know what? I called the airline, and I just canceled my flight, my return flight. So I was like, I'm just going to drive back with him. So while I was there, one of my friends who was in Atlanta going to this conference, he called me, said, Craig, what's up? Can you FaceTime me while I'm at this conference? I was like, he's like, I'll be in Atlanta doing this conference. I was like, it's on Sunday? I was like, no way, I'm driving to Atlanta on Sunday. So I'll come to this conference and kick it with you. A barber conference for school owners and instructors. So when I got to the conference, it was like one of the best conferences that I've ever been to because there were people who were sharing information there that it was over the top. So there's one guy, he was on the list to do his presentation. His name was Michael Latchney. He's a professor at Michigan State, and he said he's going to talk about barbering and coding. I was like, man, I'm like shaking my head, like closing my eyes, twitching. I'm like, how does this even intersect?
I bet everybody in there was like,
I can see Craig doing it right now.
Yeah. And Thomas, he was like, yeah, he's going to talk about barbering. And Thomas was like looking at me, I'm looking at him, we both shaking our heads like, man, we got to see this. And then this guy comes up and he starts going in. I'm like, whoa, you just totally blew my mind. Barbering and coding, who would ever thought? So so when I first said that to you, Ammi, what was going through your mind?
I'm biased now. I already know.
I know I was excited to share it with you.
I was thinking about how indifferent both of those things are. Like in my mind, like the aspects of working with a human being and having a conversation and relating to something rather than dealing with something, I won't say impersonal, but inanimate and creating something on something that is inanimate. So to me, it was like unrelatable. In my opinion.
It was just totally unrelatable to me. What do you think, Jordan? What'd you hear?
I mean, it's two completely whole subjects. Like coding, when you think of coding, you think of computers. And then barbering, you think of hair. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of hard to think of something with them two.
What about you, B?
I thought of them as two separate subjects. So even when I came here, I was like, okay, I guess I'm learning about barbering, and then I'll learn about coding instead of knowing that they intersect at
I mean, but it's not something. It's something totally new that they just came up with. And so the guy Michael Latchney, one of his things is he was trying to broaden black students' participation in computer science. That was his whole goal.
Piquing interest in it.
Just piquing interest. And it was like, how can we pique an interest in that? And then let me regress a little bit. Something that he said that even caught my attention before he started talking about the barbering and coding was, he said to any teachers out there who was in the classroom, K-12, or even a professor, he said, if you're having a hard time reaching kids in your classroom, go to a barber shop and watch how barbers interact with their clients and kids. That will teach you a lesson how to get to the student, how to relay your message. And I was like, so interesting. Because I'll share another story with you. I cut this guy. His name is Keith DeVos. He's an older professor at the high school here. He works at the VA and he teaches at Science Hill High School. I met him in this workout group. He's an older guy in his mid-60s, but we became friends and I started cutting his hair. And he said to me one time, he's like, Craig, I told the students that you cut my hair and it gave me instant credibility. And I'm like, that's what Michael is talking about. Mm-hmm. Because they in an arena that they can relate to. Yeah. And once they figured that he was crossing that arena that brought him closer to them, they'll listen to it. And that's all it is, piquing people's interest.
That's all it is.
And that's what makes learning fun. What do you think? You over there pulling your beard?
I'm just over here looking, just like, I'm intrigued actually, because that's kind of crazy. I mean, I just never thought that something like that could make sense.
I mean,
it's crazy.
It blew my mind because when he was sitting there talking about it, I'm like, man, there's no way. So what they decided, it was an effect to pique students' interest. And by piquing students' interest, hoping that they would get, because I always thought myself, when someone makes learning fun, when learning was fun for me, I learned more. I could remember those teachers that back from kindergarten to middle school to high school, even in college, who made learning fun, and I participated more. So that's the key aspect they're thinking about. And we all talk about the next wave is STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math. And they say, if you want to make money, put your kids in the STEM. And how STEM and barbering intersect is so interesting. What you guys are like just sitting there waiting for me to just explode.
I mean, I'm listening.
I know, but I don't want to be like the only one talking and be like, man.
No, I'll tell you a story, man. We can talk about it afterwards.
Okay, cool. So, how does barbering and coding intersect? How?
Well,
B, take a guess.
For me,
yeah. Well,
I'm biased.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I actually had this conversation with a business owner the other day, and we're just talking about how in any business, in any industry, mm-hmm. you have to be ready for the future and be able to advance into it. And it looks like in the year, 2022, we're very technology based. We're very much into our phones, very much into laptops, and we're always looking for the next best thing. And I think since the 1980s, we've advanced a lot. So even in the sense of barbering, like once you brought up the topic, I really thought about it. I was like, well, honestly, since we are always looking for technology to be integrated into all these different industries, why not barbering?
Right.
How can we make barbering a better experience? How can we make barbering the next biggest thing? So.
And barbering's in one of the hottest job markets right now.
Yep.
What were you gonna say, Jordan?
I mean, because he was saying that saying that we use certain angles for cutting hair and having the shape and using the shape of people's heads. Like that's math.
That's mathematics.
It relates.
Because think about it, the 180, the 45, the 90,
yeah,
that's geometry.
Drop fade.
Yeah, that's all where math comes in, because you looking at someone's head and you're trying to create an angle how to best do this haircut for yourself.
And even with barbers too, it's beyond that. Even it's even that's when the art comes in, because every head is different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's that risk factor in it that you can't necessarily calculate, because everybody is different. Especially in America, where culturally most people are mixed with something and have variations of different kind of geometrical mm-hmm. shapes on their heads.
So how does coding and barber intersect? So basically, they're using software to teach kids how to do designs on people's head and how to cut their hair. And so that's the fun part for them. You putting in a culture setting where you making it fun for them to create with their hands. And the hope is to pique kids' interest. Maybe they might one day become a barber, or maybe they might one day go into computer science, because it's something that they did a study on and something they put in the classroom just to help them learn.
And if those students have a talented barber, they can create those geometrical shapes and then bring it to their barber and have them put them in their head.
Yes. So that's how it intersects.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
And so with the software, when he's doing his presentation, he had the software up on the screen, and they showing how using a pair of clippers and designing the actual head with the clippers in the software. So when now you apply it to the field in the shop to someone's head, you're doing the same design. The clippers is you watching the clipper do the design in the software. So when you apply it to the scalp, now it's easier because it's showing you step by step how to apply this design. So coding is showing people, is building a house for you, and it's telling you exactly how to put this brick in a certain spot for the house. That's what coding is, to build anything.
You know, it'd be awesome. And I saw this, I don't know if it was fake or what, but they had a mirror where you could look in the mirror and it could show yourself with whichever haircut that you think would look good on you.
Right.
So if you were able to create your own head shape and then design and then try on different haircuts on yourself and then bring it to your barber, and you would know exactly what you would want for yourself.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what the coding aspect is. Just teaching them how to get that, because one of the toughest things for people to do at times is get from point A to point B, from point A to B when you're doing a haircut. How to start, how to finish. Mm-hmm. And with the coding software showing you how to start, how to finish. And then if it's piquing your interest in something that you have no perceptual, everybody's like, there's no reason for coding and barbering to intersect. Mm-hmm. And it all goes down to STEM. STEM is the science, and barbering is using different clippers for different textures of hair and seeing what clippers work specifically for the different type of clippers. And then the anatomy of barbering, learning the occipital bone, the parietal ridge.
And those things, sorry to interrupt you, but those things will just make us more efficient in barbering.
Right.
Like we know, as barbers, you know what clipper or scissor to pick up for what you're doing, but can you explain why?
Right.
If you're able to explain why, then it's only going to make us way more efficient in the long term and create better quality stuff for everybody.
And that's where the science come in. And then the technology is in the clippers. All the rotary blade, the rotary motor, the electromagnetic motor, the pivot motor, all those things. That's the technology in barbering. There's so much different because clippers come out all the time.
And that's one thing that makes me upset. Not necessarily, but so with the industry right now, it just seems like every month there's a new clipper coming out, right? And the only way to know if it's good is to purchase it. You get the pre-order. And it's almost upsetting because you have students chasing this rabbit hole. I know this is out on a tangent, but you have students on a chasing this rabbit or chasing a dragon. I don't know how to describe it, but the fact that they're purchasing every clipper thinking it's going to make them better, but they don't exactly know what they need to do, what they want to do. So they just continue to buy instead of just being efficient with what they have. Right. And that's one problem with the industry right now. And I think this could solve it.
Right.
Coding could make things
easier.
Put the science behind it. Why is your clipper, just because it runs at this many RPMs, doesn't prove to me that this clipper is what I need to do this haircut with.
Right.
Exactly. So we can, adding the math and the risk factors into it can separate the ones that are just putting stuff out to sell it or putting stuff out to be efficient for what we do.
So now how the engineer part comes into barbering is we modify clippers. Why do we modify clippers?
Because the way they make it isn't designed for the way we need it.
Right, and it's running hot, so we got to cool it down. So that's why a lot of clippers are being modified, and a lot of people are putting holes in their clippers and doing different things. So we're using the STEM technology, the STEM. Now we're going into the M part, which is the mathematics. We use math every day in barbering. Every barber uses math.
But the barbers are the ones that are discovering that they need modifications. Why? Because the barbers are the ones actually doing the research.
Right.
They're the ones on the front lines doing the research. Just like with the Andis tea trimmer. They're like, wow, this is great. What if I cut this extra plastic off that I don't need and create a modified tea trimmer that exactly, and it's cooler. It was cool. And this was just by trial and error. I don't know who did it first.
Right.
But then Andis was like, well, that's a good idea. We should sell it for $200.
Right.
And then they came out with another skeleton tea trimmer. So
and that's where we're not getting the credit, but the part that we have to do is myself and yourself and Jordan, and just keep educating people and letting them know how prestigious our industry is. Mm-hmm. And this is another aspect of it, because even for this guy Chris Emdem at Columbia College, Columbia Teachers College, mm-hmm. he talked about the integration of this technology in barbering. Because we have professors at major colleges talking about how to integrate this thing into our communities, how to integrate this thing, this industry that people look down upon so long, to elevate, to give people careers and jobs, to elevate themselves.
And putting the science behind something gets rid of a lot of fluff.
Yes.
There's so much fluff out here. They make you seem like you have to buy this.
Right.
I hate to reference it towards marketing, of course. We have the marketing expert here.
Yeah.
But they steer you in a way that makes you feel like you have to have a certain thing for a certain reason. But when you have the science behind it, you can't hide the commodities. You can't just put something out there and expect people to buy it because it's new. Like, you have a reason to buy it.
Yep. I mean, but it's just so dope, man. It's just so dope how barbershops computing teaches students how to do designs through a technology.
It's super creative, yeah.
That's extra creative, because who would thought that? Because most of us just thought when we got into this industry is just sat behind a chair. But think about when we was up there at Gillette at the headquarters, and the engineer came down. He was breaking down. He gave us a presentation on the razor.
And that was like one of the coolest moments ever, because he was an expert at what he does. He engineered razors.
Respects y'all.
He engineered razors. But he said, I get nervous talking to professionals.
Right.
But we're professional barbers. So it's like it was awesome that he had that mutual respect with us.
For sure.
Because we're looking at him like, man, you work for Gillette. You know what I'm saying? You're an engineer for Gillette. But he respected us.
He understand and respect our opinion.
Exactly. Because we're on the front lines.
Right. And the interesting thing that they said, for so long, they had minority people working at Gillette, and they was asking them for feedback. And a lot of the guys up there was like, I mean, y'all making stuff that we can't use. We can't give you feedback. And that kind of put them in a bubble like, oh, man.
And that's another beautiful thing, too, because Mr. Latchney is Caucasian, right?
Yes.
Anglo-Saxon or whatever. This is something that is genuinely good for the black community, because he is getting black children who getting them in an interest in a field that's only going to continue to grow. You know, technology is not going away. Computer science is not going away. And he's giving them something to get into.
Pique their interest.
Yeah, something other than a basketball or a microphone.
Or entertainment.
Exactly.
But then he also said that what his hope is to hope to intersect all these computer science so they can learn something and add something to barbers. And at the other end, all these barbers can add and learn something to give something to the computer science majors.
Exactly. That's beautiful, man.
That's big.
So that's crazy. That actually that works out perfect.
That works out perfect.
That's crazy.
Because if this doesn't add more prestige to our industry, I don't know what will.
I mean, anything you break something down in the numbers, you're gonna figure out what, like, it's only gonna make things better.
So, and the reason we do this podcast is for people to think about when they're in school, the importance of their education, the importance of their journey, and not complain. Go in and act like you are after something prestigious, something that's invaluable that no one else has. Because when you approach school like that, that's the ones who become successful. But if you approach school, you want to miss, you want to skip, and all you do is complain, and you don't take it serious, you don't get the gist of the knowledge to put you in the next level. Mm-hmm. You go into school and you're missing out on practicals. You go into school and missing out the important things, and when those things come up for you to perform, you can't do it. But you want to blame everyone else. It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
You got to put in the time.
And you can't. It's not something you can inherit.
No.
You can't hand it to you. Hey, Jordan, Here you go, be a good barber. You can't do that.
That's a participation trophy.
Exactly. You gotta get in there. You gotta be in it.
Why would you want a participation trophy? Why would you want to say, "Oh, I got my barber license," but would you tell people that you wasn't going to school all the time? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't say that.
No.
Would you tell people that, hey, I was giving my instructors a hard time? No, you wouldn't say that.
I was smoking blunts on break.
Well, yeah. Would you tell people that you was just doing the most while you was in school?
Mm-hmm.
No, you wouldn't say that. But you want that certificate to say that you're a master barber, but you want it sideways. What does that sound like, Jordan? I'm just saying, just elaborate on that.
Was it like
people want the participation trophy without giving their all?
People that just don't, they're fine with being mediocre. They're just being, not wanting to be better for themselves. Just wanting to just have everything handed to them.
I think in general, people are wanting to get or accomplish big things, but on a shorter time span. So they don't want to put in the time and the work. They just want to.
They just want to give it to them.
Yeah, they want the instant gratification. That's where we have all these things like social media and the phones. Like these are instant things that we get to us constantly. So they don't want to have to put in time and like, okay, I have to go to do this test or like I have to go here every week. They don't want to have to do that. They just want it now. I want the certificate now. So you have where like it's this, we have this new generation coming up, especially they have grown up on that. They have grown up on everything being constant. Now we even have where like food delivery services, for instance, you don't have to leave your house. You just, bam, your food's here. Do you know what I'm saying? So like you have where even within different industries, they're at odds right now. You got quiet quitting going on. You got all this stuff going on because people don't want to have to put in the time or the work or energy anymore.
So I hope by just talking about this will just kind of give students who are in school a perception, understand that our industry is major. Our industry is valid.
My bad. I was just thinking about, there was like this IQ test. I can't remember when it came out. I don't remember the exact geographical shape, but what it was a series of dots. Mm-hmm. And you had to create a certain shape with these dots, right? So to create the shape inside the dots was impossible. You had to go outside the box to do it. But most people, not forward thinking people, try to create a shape that you couldn't do inside the box. You had to be confident enough to know to create a shape that you had to draw outside the lines. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to do in barbering because it's starting to become that, just like with this coding thing. What are we missing, right? It's not just see hair, cut hair anymore. It's what can we do to add more value to this industry? And if you're not actively thinking like that, you're already behind. You are already behind and you're not going to get ahead. You're just going to be a cutter. If you're not trying to think of ways to add value to the industry, then you're just going to end up a cutter because that's besides that, that's all it is.
I mean, I second that. And I mean, I know me, you talk about it all the time, Ammi. We talk about it all the time. And I know you get so frustrated at times when students don't want to give their all. And all we want to do is give you the full benefits of this industry so you can understand what it takes to get there, what it takes to be there, because it's something that's not going to happen overnight. And the journey, part of being a barber in school, is important. That journey is going to take you where you need to be so you can tell a story, so you can say, you know what, I came from nothing, I understand something now. But everybody just wants it like, wow.
And it's really just like fundamental principles that once you get to, even other than barbering, you can be successful. Just knowing I can start something, and I can be bad at it.
Right.
The number one, I'm okay with being bad at something. You learn that. Then you learn growth takes time. I learned that even though I'm bad at something, after a while, I'm going to get better and better at it. And then being confident. If you just learn those things, in anything, you could be successful. Anything. It doesn't have to be just barbering. But since we're talking about barbering, coding, you could be bad at coding. And then after time, get good at it and be confident you can achieve anything. You can think you can go surpass that.
That's important. I know, Jordan, I know it's kind of blowing your mind, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just taking it all in, man. Just sitting back and.
What do you think when you hear us talk like this? I know you're a co-host too. When you hear where the industry is going, what does it make you feel like?
It makes me excited because I feel like I'm coming into the perfect time for me personally because I'm a new barber, so I'm coming in at a time where people are innovating and creating new things to be added to the industry. So I feel like that is something I want to add. I want to add something, my own personal taste to everything. I want to do great things. So I feel like it's a perfect time for me.
Everyone should want to add value to the industry. If you say you love it that much, you should want to add so much value, because the value that you add is going to keep it going. The value that you add is going to make people respect the industry. The value that you add in is going to inspire the next barber behind you. The value that you add in is going to put some strength in numbers in this industry, and that's what we need. I mean, we can talk till we blue in our face, but until we appreciate our industry and lift it up to the highest esteem, no one else will.
We got to weed out the non-hackers, the ones that disrespect in the industry, the ones that...
It still baffles me when you come to school and you want to cut corners. It baffles me.
You only hurting yourself.
You come to school and you want to cheat on the test. You want to say that you've done your practicals, but you didn't do it. It baffles me. Who's going to do it for you? How are you going to get better? It's like going to be a doctor. You got to practice to do some surgery, but you want to do it halfway. But you want your barber your doctor certificate and said you are equipped to do this heart surgery. Man, when it's time to do it, you ran. You did half the heart.
I mean, you're not lying.
I mean, you be real.
Yeah.
You practice on half the heart. What about the other half?
You miss aorta day.
Yeah. How are you gonna be that official doctor and stand next to everybody and get pinned?
I hope ain't nobody like that out there as a doctor like that.
I mean,
that's a serious
but in every industry there are people like that.
Or a doctor and you don't take your licensing test.
You know what we should do? I listened to this guy yesterday, right? A Navy SEAL. He was in the Joe Budden podcast, and he was talking about how he was doing journeys and how that hell week was and how they had to endure so much stuff. And something came to mind. It's like, have a bell in barber school. When you don't want to give you all, just ring the bell. Say, just you know what I'm saying? Just make them feel like, just ring the bell. I don't want to do.
Hear it all day.
I don't want to do practicals. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm leaving early. Ding, 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 ding. You know what I'm saying? I think you got to have something. There has to be some type of pressure on you to perform. If you don't want to perform, why perform? Why be there? Why be around people who give their all and you're not giving your all?
What is your why? Why do you give your all to what you do?
So I actually have been meditating on a question to ask y'all, but I guess for me, why I put my all into it is because I have a strong sense of culture for me. Like, my mom has really paved the way for me to be here, and that's my biggest why. I have a question for y'all though. I guess talking about this. So I guess he started Michael. He started this project based upon trying to get Black boys into computer science.
Yes.
Which is amazing in of itself. But I think about how, I guess, us as a community have also put in advancements without acknowledging them per se. But we have advanced for a very long time. So I was going to ask you guys, like, what are some things that you have done or have seen that have advanced your careers, or like not even careers, but like barbering in general? That's like, our community is still doing it.
Well, we talk about it right now.
Okay.
Me and Emma, we talk about it all the time, like not being just a cutter.
Okay.
Not being just a cutter, where we travel the country. We part of the Confess Project of America right now. He's an instructor. I'm an instructor. We teach. So when you mix it up and do things like that and not make it just solely just being behind a chair, you see it from three-dimensional, and it keeps it fun.
Your question was referencing like how we added to the barber community.
Yes.
Yeah, like Craig said, teaching. Teaching, I think, fundamentally, like when you have information, like all the people, anybody in the world that's good at what they do, people want to pay them to tell them how they're good at what they do. They want to learn how to do it. So not necessarily that I'm good at it, but the fact that to hoard up your information that you've gathered and not share with somebody, it's useless. You know, because we're all going to die one day. We're all going to die. So to gain all this information or get good at something or to be able to do something better than somebody else, if you don't share that with somebody else,
that's selfish.
It's selfish and it's wasteful. It's wasteful.
I mean, but the world had to move on and go on from day one.
Yeah.
If nobody shared information from day one, where would we be? I mean, the information was in books. The information now is on the internet. So we have to get information from somewhere. But people who hoard information, it's just a trait that they have in themselves, thinking that they can get to this certain point by themselves and want to be on a pedestal by themselves and want to just me. They do it for the likes. And you get nowhere doing it for the likes.
And doing this podcast adds value to it because we're encouraging other people to become barber. You being here adds value to this because of your industry. Putting input into this is only going to grow our industry because using your knowledge from what you do compared to what we do.
Just asking the question.
Exactly. You can ask a question that even some of the listeners or young students or, just barbers have been doing it. I've wanted to ask themselves.
And shout out to all the guys who gives us the reviews. We have some great reviews from around the country all the time.
You want to talk about giving us energy?
Yes.
Like to reach out, message us, call us,
yes.
text us, ask to be on the podcast gives us so much energy. We don't care about the likes. We're not doing it for the likes. To hear that what we're doing, the content that we're putting out is having a positive effect on the industry is why we do it. That's one of the reasons.
Motivating someone to give their all while they're in school. Just understanding what's out there for you. Just understanding that, hey, there's bigger fish to fry. And the low-hanging fruit is just being there, focusing on your strength in the classroom. Focusing on your strength, just wanting to move your wrist and be a cutter. We want you to be more than a cutter. I want you to be able to be whatever you want yourself to be, whether it be a shop owner, whether it be an instructor, whether it be a school owner, whether maybe have your podcast one day to share information. But don't just stand still, because when you stand still, you're dying. Keep it moving.
Yeah, I feel like you don't
Keep
get the
it
full
fresh.
effect of this industry unless you're more than just the haircutting.
Right.
Like
And
you have to be able to soak it all in, man.
And for Jordan, he got out of school just recently. And I'm happy that he's on the podcast because he can give a different perspective to students out there, letting them understand what it feels like to just graduating from school and in this industry, and understand it's a process. Because in school, most students want it to happen overnight. Most students will be at school in 4 weeks and say, I'm not learning nothing. I need to be better. How are you going to be in school for 4 weeks and you're not learning nothing?
But what I'm hearing in this room is barbering is not just barbering. It's like when you say, like, I'm not just a hair cutter, like, it's not just hair cutting. It's giving people a sense of value. When you instruct, you're giving value to that person. You're inspiring them.
Yes.
When you cut their hair, you're giving them that sense of value and pride. So when I hear about, adding technology to that, is enhancing that ability to give people their sense of value. And that's what you guys do. That's what I'm hearing, at least. I'm learning today.
Well, that's good.
That's wonderfully articulated.
Yes, and that's the goal for the podcast. The podcast for Ammi and myself, and I'm not going to speak for Ammi all the time, but Ammi will say the same thing. We talk all the time. It's just to kind of put some respect on our name, on the industry. Let people know, hey, this is love.
And that's really the attitude that I have towards all of this. It's like trying to help somebody be the best version of themselves. That's really what barbering is. It's like you show up, I give you a haircut that gives you confidence and matches your personality and makes you a better person for the day, and then have a conversation that encourages you throughout the day. Like, that's what it's all about. Helping a student grow and learn and become confident, cutting hair and becoming great at it. Or just even, we've had somebody that was a nurse comment on the podcast and say, this helps me in the medical field.
Right.
That's nothing. It wasn't even a barber, but loved listening to the podcast. That is so much more powerful than any amount of money or like that you can get.
Because when we started, I would never thought I would be sitting there talking about STEM on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And you couldn't pay me any amount of money to tell me how that all relates to barbering until I met this guy last week, 2 weeks ago, and he broke it down to me. The science of it.
I was going to say, to me, it sounded like a science, because you turned to him at one point and was like, the 180 and 45. And I'm sitting here like, 180, trying to add numbers. But that's science. That's math. It's definitely, you're like, the different angles you got. I'm like trying to picture angles. I've never seen Cooper's. But it sounds like a science. It's in the science, technology, engineering, and math.
And that's what we hope the student in school can grasp from this. Hey, you had a high esteem. Barbering back in the day when it first started, hey, it was at a high esteem. Maintain that. Boss your way through school. Stop looking for shortcuts. It's a 1,500-hour program, 12 months. Don't take 2 years to finish it and blame someone else. Don't come for 6 months and miss 3 months and then blame someone else. Don't be in school interrupting someone else's learning and blame someone else. Don't feel insecure about your haircuts while you're in school, because they're going to get better. You're in school to learn. You're not going to be your best version of yourself until you get out of school. Now, there's some anomalies now, people who are in school who are really above others, but those are the ones who work hard. Those are the ones who put in the extra work.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen.
It doesn't just happen.
It's impossible. It doesn't just happen.
It doesn't. And I was, something I shared with you guys off air. We'll talk about when we get off. But students comparing themselves to other students and not understand how hard the students' work ethic is. How much film, video he's watching, how many times he's just asking questions. One of the biggest things you could do as a student while you're in school is ask plenty of questions.
All the time. That's all I did when I was in school. I asked questions constantly. You can ask Emma or Craig.
Well, what did we say? Did we say, nah, Jordan, man, ask somebody else? Is that what we did?
I even asked the people that were students there at the time that were seniors. I mean, I was just asking everybody.
You got to, and then go out there and be self-sufficient. Go and try to pick up something to work on something that you're not strong on.
And it's such a contagious attitude too. Like once you get into barbering and you say, I'm gonna make this my passion. I'm gonna learn this. I'm gonna be bad. I'm bad now, but I'll figure it out later. Once you learn that power, that is a power. That is a skill, learned skill. Once you learn that, there's nothing you can't do. Real estate. I mean, so anything.
But check this out, right? I will share this with you. As we talking about growing this industry, right? I just got a text from my assistant, and we are doing a Zoom call out the country on Wednesday to open a school, to do some teaching. So there's so much in this industry. It just came in. Do a Zoom call.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna have to say you're gonna have to be Crown Cuts International. It can't just be Tri-Cities anymore.
I mean, but my point is, this doesn't just happen. It just doesn't fall from the tree if you don't take your industry serious. It doesn't just happen because we're not taking the industry serious. We can talk barbering all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. Ain't no half stepping.
Ain't no half stepping. I mean, we can talk barbering all day, every day, and it's something that we love, something we can sleep with, wake up with, eat with. It's something that but that's how you get success. That's how you're successful in this industry.
It just gave me a hunger for life. It gave me
a purpose.
It did.
It really did.
It wasn't necessarily that it gave me a purpose. It gave me a drive. It gave me drive. It gave me the confidence to want to be better at everything. Like I want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. And that's just what barbering did for me.
And then the possibilities, the floodgates just open up.
What's next?
You know what I mean?
Because once you get done with one thing, you're like, well, I got to find something else.
I'm hungry, man.
So I'm sitting there on this podcast, and my assistant sent me can we do a Zoom call with blah, blah, blah in this country about opening a school? I'm like,
Of course.
You know what I mean? But
is it Madagascar?
we haven't given him a shout out in a long time.
It has been a little bit.
It's been a minute because we are in a lot of countries around the world, and every major city in the United States, and we haven't given a shout out to your favorite country.
Did she say what country it was?
Yes, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I was gonna say, yes. What if it was?
If it was, I'd have told you. But shout out to our listeners in China, in Germany, in all over the Caribbean, Chicago, all over the United States, Chicago, LA, Colorado, Maine, Florida, Texas, St. Louis. We just appreciate our listeners and our viewers from all over the world and the country. Italy, wherever you are, man, thank you. And I mean, this is just being real. We get feedback from all these countries just saying thank you. Thank you for helping us through this journey through barber school. I drive 3 hours to school, and this keeps me up and it keeps me fresh. Thank you for the free game. Thank you for the free knowledge. You guys ain't charged for this. I mean, it's important. I wish when I was going to school I had a podcast to just kind of give me a descriptive of what to expect in school. That is so major and so big. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing that we're doing here, man. I enjoy being on here, really spreading the love and the knowledge. I know that somebody around here, somebody's gonna take it to heart. Somebody. With my nervousness.
I mean, but look how it has changed you. Look how you've grown just from being in that realm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like I said. You can't be scared to try new things. That's all it's all about, really. Always trying new things, not being scared to mess up and fail.
So let me give you guys this site from Michael Latchney, csdt.org. And if you want to learn more about this coding and barbering, check it out. There's also an article on, if you type in Michael Latchney and coding, there's an article by Ann Merritt, published December 8, 2021. Students in South Carolina are learning the technique, a unique approach to barbering by coding hair designs in their barbershop class. The article is called Coding and Barbering Event Aims to Broaden Black Students' Participation in Computer Science. Check it out. I know all good things has to come in. We can go forever. We can go. What you guys think about this podcast today? What you guys get from it? What you think?
Blew my mind today. Blew my mind. Honestly, I didn't think it was like. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna come together as much as I thought it was. Like,
right.
Because it's such just a broad, two different things, as broad as freaking coding and barbering. Right. I would have never thought that it would actually coming together like that.
But that's part of it though. What you get, B?
I learned a lot. I think I came in just expecting to talk about hair in general,
right.
But I've learned it transcends that. It's not just about hair. It's
right.
about, again, giving people that sense of value and inspiring them to be the best form of themselves. Which I guess when you give someone a haircut, that's what happens. If you give them the best version of themselves. Have you
listened to the podcast yet?
No, I'm gonna do it after today.
Hey man, we passed 100. You got a lot of catching up to do.
But I'm gonna listen. Yeah, I learned a lot.
What you think, A?
It's just good to, like, we talk about people thinking outside the box all the time, and that's out of the box. That's
right.
You didn't kick the box to the curb. Like,
yes, next level.
We can't even fathom that. So like, what's next? Who's next? Like, which one of y'all listening is next? Is it somebody? Because somebody's listening. Just like Jay-Z's, like, he said, there's a young dude and he's eating a bowl of Apple Jacks, and he said, I'm gonna find him. He said, I'm gonna sign him. So,
but the thing is, the most innocent place to come up with your creativity, school. That's why we talk about there should be no dead time. Think about something. Think about that next great move. Think about that next game changer that you can create from school where you have time.
Yeah, universities spend millions of dollars on research for schools.
So if you're sitting there doing nothing, pull 2 or 3 students together and say, hey, let's throw some ideas on a piece of paper. See what we can come up with.
Yes, sir.
Because, again, when you solve problems, that's when you begin to make money. That's what somebody told me.
And then when you figure something out, share it.
That's it. So our lasting words, hey, man, just ask yourself, what is your why? When you're in school this week, what is your why? Why are you in barber school? Ask yourself, what is your why? Because it's important to find out what is your why, because it will help you figure out where you want to go and where you're going. What is your why? Barber College Success, brought to you by Craig Charles of Crown Cuts Academy JC, Crown Cuts Academy Bristol, and Craig's Crown Cuts Downtown. And my co-host himself.
Am I Fields? Am I your barber on Instagram?
Jordan Barr _52 on Instagram. Still got to change my name.
Yeah, check us out. If you want to send us something, a question, a message, hit us up on the Crown Cuts page.
Give Jordan a name.
Yeah.
They gave me one. 2 of them commented on my post, and then they gave me 2. And then Craig gave me the one with
Keep going, guys. He needs
creator,
one.
J Barr, the creator.
I like that.
I kind of like that. I just haven't. I don't know, bro. I just
have some merch.
I be overthinking stuff sometimes.
You do.
It has to be perfect.
And B, what's your last words?
BCA. On Instagram, it's BESIAHF. Just that. And I think, what y'all doing is great. Keep it up.
Big. Appreciate you, miss. Thank you. And, everybody who comes on the podcast, they got to come again. So
I come again?
Hope to see you. But appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. And again, check us out.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And check us out. Enroll in the barber school or cosmetology program near you. Get into this industry right now while it's hot. nails, aesthetics, barbering, cosmetology. Get into the field. Make something out of yourself. Let us help you. Hit us up. We are enrolling students the first Tuesday of every month. Check us out. Whether you're here, near, or far. Crown Cuts Academy. Let's get it.